Millions of people throughout the world suffer addiction to drugs, and it seems that the more you criminalize something, the more attractive it is for the people. And drugs are not the exception. It can be denied that the effect that drugs have in our bodies and communities is really bad. While doing the research for my speech, I read a quote that opened my eyes. It said, "Drug users aren't criminals; they are sick." And I strongly believe that. That's why I'm here supporting that the criminalization of drugs, using the Portugal example to show you how this problem can be better if not solved. To prove my point, I'm going to explain you the difference between decriminalization and legalization of drugs, also the strategies that the Portuguese government used to achieve the task, in addition, the creation of social support organizations that allowed the change to be permanent and the population to not relapse on this problem. Many times, when we hear the word decriminalization, we think about legalization, but it's not the same. According to Thought Co., decriminalization is the loosening of criminal penalties of possession of drugs, while legalization is the lifting or abolishment of laws banning the possession and personal use of drugs. That means that with the criminalization, the use and possession of drugs is still illegal if exceeded the quantities established by the government. Before talking about any other country, we must understand the situation that we find ourselves in as a nation and know what strategies we have been used throughout the history to combat the same problem but obtain different results. For more than 50 years, the United States have developed this well known term, which is the war on drugs, which has only led to injustice, tragedy to communities, and suffering. Almost every government administration in the United States have used the same strategy. According to the Office of National Drug uh, Control Policy, the most efficient strategy to battle against this drug problem consists of three steps. The first one is to reduce the size of the drug using population by preventing initiatives to elicit drug use through education and evidence based prevention programs. The second one is reduce barriers to treatment services so that access to long term recovery if is available for those suffering from substance use disorder. And the third one, and the one I want to focus in more, is drastically reduce the availability of these drugs in the United States through law enforcement and, of course, cooperating with international partners to lessen the negative effects the drug trafficking that impact the safety of our communities and well-being of our citizens. All over the world, it has been used this term American strategy, which is the war on drugs related term, which is creating stricter laws to prevent the use and possession of drugs. In most of these countries, the American strategy haven't worked. And according to the United Kingdom, there's no obvious relationship between the thugness and the effectiveness of these laws. But what does this mean? It means that the whole war on drug strategies haven't been worked at all. It has been a waste of time and money. It has injured many people and it has increased the violence. It might have helped some people, but not the majority of them. We're still suffering because of this war on drugs. Now, what did Portugal government do that was so successful? In 2001, Portugal approved a law called Regime Jurídico do Consumo de Estupefacientes, which is the legal regime for use of the narcotic drugs. And in this law, they removed the criminal penalties for the possession of small amounts of drugs, all kind of drugs. And according to ATTN, when Portuguese authorities find someone in possession of drugs, The drug user will eventually go before a three-member administrative panel that consists of a lawyer, a doctor, and a psychologist. When dealing with this drug user, the panel has only three choices. The first one, prescribe treatment. The second one, find the user. And the third one, do nothing at all. And you might think that won't help at all, that's gonna make the problem worse. But actually, thanks to that strategy, the number of people voluntarily entering treatment has increased significantly, while overdose deaths, HIV infections, problematic drug use, and incarcerations for drug possession and use offenses has plumbed, and the drug abuse has dropped by half. In Portugal, only in 2015, there were 30 cases of overdose deaths, which compared to the United States in the same year, they had 63,000 deaths of overdose. It is important to understand that Portugal treated this problem as a medical issue, not a crime issue. In conclusion, people who use drugs, they are sick. Instead of treating them as criminals, governments should give them the resources to seek for help and be treated, as well as giving them the chance to have a normal life again. Thank you for your attention.